What happens when a warship costs more than an entire aircraft carrier but can't fire its main gun? The USS Zumwalt was supposed to be the future of the US Navy. A ghost on the water, invisible to radar, packed with powerful new weapons and high-tech features never seen before on a destroyer. The Navy called it a game changer, something that would shape the battlefield for decades to come. But what the Navy got instead was a $7 billion headache. From the outside, the Zumwalt looks like something out of a science fiction movie. It was built to sneak close to shore and launch powerful land attacks, destroying targets with speed and precision from miles away. Yet behind all that promise, the Zumwalt quickly became one of the most controversial ships ever built. Its most advanced weapon system, the huge advanced gun system, turned out to be useless. The special ammunition it needed was canceled because it cost $800,000 per round. Without those rounds, the gun became dead weight. On top of that, the ship ran into major engine problems, software issues, and a growing list of questions. Why did it cost so much? Why didn't it work as planned? And was it all a waste of taxpayer money? In this video, we'll uncover the full story behind the Zumwalt, what made it special, what went wrong, and what lessons the Navy learned from it. Because when billions of dollars disappear into the ocean, the public deserves to know the truth. First, let's look into what makes the USS Zumwalt so special. The Zumwalt was designed to be almost invisible. Most warships show up clearly on radar screens. Not the Zumwalt. Thanks to its sharp, angled design and flat surfaces, enemy radars would think it was just a small fishing boat. That's right. This massive 600-foot-long destroyer was meant to disappear on radar like it wasn't even there. Second, it had a brand new electric power system. This wasn't just a diesel engine pushing propellers. The Zumwalt used a complex power grid to move the ship and run its weapons. Think of it like a floating power station. It could produce enough electricity to power a small town. The idea was that future weapons, like lasers or railguns, could plug right into this power system and fire away. But the star of the show was the Advanced Gun System, or AGS. This was a pair of giant cannons at the front of the ship. They were supposed to launch special smart shells, the long-range land attack projectiles at targets over 70 miles away. These shells were guided, fast, and deadly. One hit could take out a bunker or enemy base in seconds, and the ship could carry hundreds of them. The vision was clear. The Zumwalt would sneak close to enemy shores, use its stealth to stay hidden, and then strike targets deep inland with powerful precision. It all sounded perfect on paper. That's what made it so exciting and so dangerous. The Navy was trying to leap 20 years ahead with one single ship, but pushing that far ahead meant using brand new tech that had never been tested together. And it meant massive risks. If just one piece didn't work, the whole thing could fall apart. And soon, that's exactly what started to happen. At first, the USS Zumwalt seemed like a smart investment. Sure, it was expensive, but it was packed with new technology. The Navy planned to build 32 ships. That number didn't last long. As construction started, the cost began to climb fast. The original estimate for one Zumwalt-class destroyer was around $1.5 billion. But with all the advanced parts, new systems, and testing delays, the price shot up. By the time the first ship was ready, it had cost more than $7.5 billion, and that was just one. The project got so expensive it broke a federal rule called the Nunn-McCurdy Amendment, which forces the Pentagon to review any program that goes way over budget. The result? The Navy had to admit the Zumwalt program was in serious trouble. Instead of 32 ships, they canceled nearly all of them. Only 3 were ever built. But money wasn't the only problem. Let's talk about the ship's biggest feature, the Advanced Gun System. Remember those smart shells, the long-range land attack projectiles? They were key to Zumwalt's mission, but each one cost around $800,000. That's nearly $1 million for a single round. To compare, a Tomahawk cruise missile, which flies much farther and packs more power, costs about the same or even less. It didn't make sense. So the Navy canceled the ammo. But that created a new problem. The ship's main guns couldn't fire. No other ammo worked with them. The massive cannons became useless metal. They're still on the ship, but just for show. Software issues also caused headaches. This ship relied heavily on digital systems to run everything from steering to combat operations. That made it powerful, but also risky. If one system glitched, the whole ship could slow down or shut off. With each problem, the Navy lost more confidence. What started as a dream was now a floating puzzle. Some people inside the Pentagon began asking tough questions. Had they gone too far? Were they trying to do too much? And the troubles weren't over yet. In November 2016, just weeks after being delivered, the Zumwalt began its first major trip. It was sailing through the Panama Canal when something unexpected happened. The ship lost power. One of its propulsion systems failed, and water got into parts of the engine room. The high-tech destroyer came to a stop, completely dead in the water. The crew couldn't fix it fast enough. Tugboats had to tow the Zumwalt the rest of the way. The most advanced ship in the fleet had just broken down like a car with a flat tire. It was a huge embarrassment. Another problem was its combat systems. The Zumwalt was supposed to carry dozens of missiles and fire them from hidden launchers built into the sides of the ship, but it had fewer missile cells than older destroyers, about 80 compared to 96 or more on other ships. It also lacked systems for ballistic missile defense, something that's standard on most other Navy destroyers. Even the crew setup was strange. The Navy designed the Zumwalt to run with just 147 sailors, much fewer than other ships of its size. This was part of the high-tech idea. Automation would replace manpower. But this meant sailors had to do more with less help. And some experts warned that overworking the crew could become a serious problem during real combat. For many, the big question was this: what good is a $7 billion warship if it can't fight? So, what happened with the USS Zumwalt? Originally, they wanted 32 ships. Then they cut it to 24, then 7, and finally just 3. That's all they could afford, and all they could justify. Building more ships with broken guns and costly systems didn't make sense. The 3 Zumwalt-class destroyers that were finished didn't go into full combat service like other ships. Instead, they became test beds, floating labs to try out new ideas and weapons. The Navy shifted their missions, trying to find some use for them. One of the biggest lessons? Don't gamble everything on untested technology. The Navy had tried to do too much at once. Stealth, electric power, smart guns, new radars, new software, all in one ship. And when one part failed, the rest started falling apart too. It also taught the military that innovation needs balance. Being bold is good, but you can't forget the basics. Weapons must work. Ships must sail. Systems must be reliable. Some people called the Zumwalt a billion-dollar warning sign. It showed what happens when you chase futuristic dreams without a solid backup plan. Still, the Navy didn't give up completely. Instead of scrapping the Zumwalts, they began looking for new ways to use them. The ship wasn't dead, but its original mission was. The USS Zumwalt was supposed to lead the future of naval warfare. Instead, it became a symbol of what happens when ambition outruns reality. A $7 billion ship that can't fire its main gun, a stealth destroyer with nowhere to fight, a dream that turned into a warning. But maybe that's the point. Sometimes, progress comes with pain. Mistakes teach more than success, and the Zumwalt, flawed as it is, still sails. Not as a perfect weapon, but as a reminder. In the race to build the future, even the most powerful navy on Earth can stumble.